Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Karen Marquez, Chief Public Safety Brand Officer at Rapid SOS, and we're so glad that you can spend part of your day with us here at Ready23. If you are not familiar with Rapid SOS, we are an intelligent safety platform that securely links life-saving data to monitoring centers, 911, and field responders during emergencies. At Ready23, we aim to foster a sense of unity and shared purpose amongst all stakeholders in the emergency response ecosystem. Ready23 is an opportunity to connect, collaborate, and catalyze change in the world of public safety and emergency response. We encourage you to actively engage in this virtual platform through the live Q&A as well as the chats. There's also a poll feature as well. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Tina Bonetta, Director of Aurora 911, and Jeff Bruns with Convey 911. So let's just dig into this and have each of you do a little introduction. Tell us a little bit more about yourselves and why you're excited to talk about our topic today, revolutionizing communication and response with translation technology. It's late in the day and we're almost done.
Tina, I'll let you intro first.
Jeff, such a gentleman. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tina Bonetta. I'm the director of Aurora 911 in Aurora, Colorado. Began my career almost 25 years ago as a dispatcher for the Colorado State Patrol. Spent 20 years there working my way up through the ranks. And in 2019, I was given an amazing opportunity to join the city of Aurora as their director. So we are currently the third largest city in the state of Colorado, but we're growing exponentially. And rumor has it that within the next 15 years or so, it's very possible that we will become the largest city in Colorado, surpassing Colorado Springs and Denver. With that said, we're also a center hub of migrant and immigrant communities. And so I think the statistics are roughly 30% of the population in Aurora specifically speaks a language other than English. And the Aurora public school system has students in their student body speaking over 160 languages. And so language is a hot topic and a critically important one for me and for my team, connecting with people and meeting them where they are. And, I'm so excited to be here with Jeff and with Karen to talk about changes in technology and why they are so critically important, not only for 911, but for any public-facing government entity. Jeff?
Excellent.
Thank you. It's kind of hard to not have a smile on my face because you guys are two of my favorite people. And this topic of language access, for us and for me is something that resonates because of my background in public safety. So, I started Convey 911 with my partner, co-founder, about 2.5 years ago. But prior to that, I spent about 17 years in fire and EMS outside of Washington, D.C., in a very densely populated area that had a bunch of hubs of language inside the Beltway. So I encountered language barriers, as a first responder. But I've also co-founded a couple startups in my career. And the last one, again, fire and EMS facing, but learning 911, how the workflows work, what the folks under the headset are dealing with day in and day out, and hearing these stories about really call specialists, 911 specialists having their hands tied because they have an emergency situation and they don't know what's going on because they can't communicate. So, for us at Convey, language access is our mission. I think Tina said it well. It's not just a public safety problem. It's a public sector problem. Across public sector, the mission is to serve. And whether that means that you didn't get your trash picked up or Department of Public Works, is trying to figure out where a water main break is. I mean, any number of scenarios, this is public sector. And if you can't communicate with your constituents and the people that live in your areas, then you're marginalizing them. And it's something that we talk about a lot as we've kind of traversed the country over the last 2 years. Every agency, no matter how small, has pockets of population that they can't communicate with. So I'm really looking forward to picking your brain, Tina, on kind of what happens day in and day out, because frankly, I was pretty shocked when I looked at the statistics. 30% of your population identifies a language other than English as their primary language, and 160 languages across your area it's remarkable. So happy to be here, Karen. As always, thank you for everything that you do and for moderating and bringing this exciting conversation together.
Well, thank you both again for being here. We're so grateful to have you. And I love how you've already set up this conversation. Obviously, today is going to center around translation technologies, but we also have to talk about the problem that we're actually trying to solve, because sometimes we can throw technology at something that may not necessarily be a problem, right? And this is a problem, as you've stated, and a challenge for folks across the public sector group and industry. So for many years, Tina, as you know, we worked together in Colorado in 911, and 911 has had basic access to language interpretation services for voice calls. So it's been around for a long time. But sometimes it was really challenging if you don't remember your agency code, or somebody out in the fields might not have had a contracted provider. And I remember, working in the center, and people would have a non-English speaking caller and automatically say, Karen, line 25 is for you. It's Spanish. And it was certainly not Spanish. And I didn't know what it was. So can you talk to us a little bit about, you've set it up for the language diversity landscape in Aurora, but being one of the most diverse cities in the state, what does a day look like for your 911 specialists, and how often are they encountering language barriers?
So we likely engage, I'm just thinking about this on an average basis, but we have the need to translate over 1,000 911 calls every month. While the majority, I'd say 75 to 80% of those run in Spanish, you're also thinking about the fact that we have populations from different areas of South America and Central America who speak different dialects. And so the traditional approach of engaging your bilingual employees can be helpful, but in a city as large as ours and a center as busy as ours, it's very difficult, nearly impossible, to take a bilingual call taker out of pocket to answer another call, because we field nearly 2,000 calls every day through our center, between 911 and non-emergency combined. We're very, very busy, and so that lends just complexity to the problem. But let's also just talk about the fact that we have a number of other languages besides Spanish being spoken in Aurora, 160 plus, right? What was it? 164 was the documented total in the city of Aurora. And so what that means is there's no possible way that we would have those human resources available inside the center to recognize what was being said, the language being spoken, and whether or not we had the capacity to translate or needed a third party. Now, historically, we've been using warm transfer to a telephone translation service, which, as for any of you using it understands, like, while that's valuable and it's the best we've had available to us, that takes time. And if staffing is an issue or availability is an issue, now we're waiting while they find a translator. We're waiting. We've waited as long as 15, 20 minutes for a translation call. And in my mind, in my heart, as a human being, that's completely unacceptable, because how do we value the life-saving efforts for one person over another due to the language barrier? I just think that is such an underservice. And what I understand about my community is, because of those deficits in the ability to engage their government, we have pockets of communities throughout our city who just don't ask for help. They don't leverage us because they don't know how to do that, and they don't trust that we're going to understand and respond to their needs. And so there is just a lot of gaps to make up, and a lot of repairing to occur, and a lot of trust to be built. And and every life has value. you can't put a price on that. You can't put a cost to that. You can't, no delay is acceptable when it comes to the work we do, and meeting people where they are is so incredibly important. So, from a cost perspective, as many calls as we're engaging in for voice translation, we're probably spending well over $10,000 monthly on this service, and also accepting the delays that come from it. And kudos to the translators for the honorable work they do, but in our industry, like it's not a good fit, right? So I'm so excited to see people like Jeff's stepping forward and innovating and finding solutions that help us meet people where they are in the moment, to be able to quickly understand the language they're speaking, their initial comments, and the ability to interact, not only from voice calls, but also the ability for us to engage in text to 911 or text to a non-emergency number, and be able to recognize languages, translate and transcribe and interact in real time with someone, regardless of the barrier. Because now we're building a bridge from our community to all of the services that they should have full access to, just like our English speaking residents. So it's just so important. And my heart breaks when I think of times when that wasn't available, or we weren't able to connect on a language, or I just think back across my career, how many people have fallen through the cracks because of this. And right, like, it breaks my heart to think about that, but we've got to do better. And I think this is a pathway to achieving that.
I love that. I love your passion for meeting people where they are, right? That can mean so many different things in the way you adopt technology. So we talked about that 911 challenge. And Jeff, you have a background not only as a field responder and also a technology provider. So what are you hearing from the field responder side of this challenge at all, or as well?
I mean, it doesn't take much to kind of picture the challenge. Someone calls 911 because they're having a medical emergency, or they're in a domestic violence situation. Well, those people still don't speak English when responders arrive. And I was firsthand experienced that, responding on a fire truck or an ambulance, during my time. And it's an arduous process. I mean, depending on where you go, different states have different rules on how 911 funding can work. And 911 money tends to be 911 money. It does not always extend into the field. Well, that's all fine and well from a budget point of view. But again, back to kind of Tina's point, if we're going to be able to serve and meet folks where they are, we need to be able to provide that continuity from the end to the end. So, it's not a one solution, that fits everything. We kind of think of ourselves as plumbers. We've got all these different kind of technology things, services, capabilities. We're a text to 911 provider. We have video, we have voice transcription and talk back that we're developing. We also have a network of human interpreters, 22,000 of them that service 350 languages. So how do we look at the scenarios, be it in the PSAP, be it in the field, be it side of the road during a traffic stop, be it Department of Housing, Department of Aging, whatever those entities are, and let's empower them with the tools. We had a really cool use case, and again, it emphasizes that this is not just public safety, but public sector. One of our customers up in Maine uses our service in City Hall, and they used our interpretation service to marry a Ukrainian couple in City Hall, which I just thought was wow. If we can engage the marginalized portions of our population in such a way that they can do that and want to go out and talk about it, great. Because if we're not communicating with them, like you said, Tina, the trust factor, you're losing a significant portion of the population, and then that's going to affect their interaction with law enforcement if they get pulled, and then that's going to escalate or so much can be achieved just by being able to communicate.
Absolutely. So many problems stem around communication, right? Funny. So Jeff, talk to us a little bit about, you shared, the case where the couple got married with using your technology, but how is technology being used to help bridge this language barrier, at least in our industry specifically?
Yeah, it's a unique challenge because I'm out there trying to provide my services, my products, the things that we're doing, and it's interesting because everyone that I interact with in public safety, they grimace when we talk about what their workflow is today. They talk about long connection times. They talk about horrific stories like out of state college, Pennsylvania, providing CPR instructions through an interpreter to a mother whose daughter isn't breathing. And the interpreter disconnected the line because she panicked. She wasn't prepared for this life and death seconds matter. I was a firefighter EMT for 17, 18 years. That I know the outcome of that situation because that is a case where seconds absolutely matter. So it's not just long connection times, but it's the quality. Who's on the other line. Do they understand the context of what they're doing? And a lot of what we have found is that the services that are delivering interpretation services, they're generally lower paid workers. The training for 911 and public safety generally isn't there. And in the case of State College, PA, the what we found is that the previous 17 or 18 calls that this interpreter fielded were from banks, from healthcare, doctors' offices. Now all of a sudden they're on with 911, and they need to ask the critical questions, and they need to do it quickly. So how can we, as practitioners in the space, think about the right intersection between technology and what we're used to, which is the people? So kind of coming back to where I started, going out and talking about this, everyone, quickly says, yes, this is great. Language is a challenge, but it doesn't always connect full circle because it's just the way that we've always done it for 30 plus years. This is how language access, was bridged. So now thinking about technology and advances in AI, now you're seeing innovation in this space where really, it's been the same way. So it's almost, they recognize it's a problem, but not to the point where they're recognizing that something should be done about it. So it's kind of getting over that kind of gap of, hey, yeah, technology is here and it's doing pretty cool things, but how we apply it and the way that we apply it and apply it in a way that leverages the human interpreters. Technology is not going to solve every language access problem, no matter how you spin it. So find a solution that does the job, based on how you guys do the job. It's your workflow. It's you're the ones fielding calls and dealing with 5 different screens. Let's make sure that we can plumb this in a way that it fits, the way that you guys do business.
Yeah, I love that. With that said, Tina, who drives the need for these changes to better communicate with our non-English speaking or limited English proficient communities?
Well, just as a member of the 911 community, I'm going to say it's us. It's us, because we are the ones who are carrying the flag to the top of the mountain here. Because when we're dealing with people, we're dealing with people in their worst moments. And whether they're a life-saving emergency or something that's just truly important to their life and their quality of life, they've turned to us because they don't know where else to turn. And so that's a great responsibility that we have. When I think back to the beginning of my career, before we even had phase 2, wireless, right? Let's just think back to where we were and where we are. That we needed a phone call in order to know that something was happening. We needed to be able to ask and have answered the questions we had to fill in the blanks. And then we regurgitated that over the radio to responders, and response started. So if anything out of the ordinary, if someone didn't know their location, if we couldn't understand the language they were speaking, and we had no way to triangulate their location, we were dead in the water. We were completely ineffective. Now, technology has moved over time. However, right, like we're still in this infancy place of AI, and everyone's sort of balks at it like, you're going to take my job away. You're going to, right? Like it's meant to assist us as trained, certified, passionate, dedicated professionals. That the tools are available now to help us be a more effective individually in our decision making and judgment and resource allocation, deployment, and all of that it needs to work hand in hand seamlessly. But I think that, like we just have to crack through the resistance of what that means for humans when we start to interact these AI assistive technologies. And really, as Jeff said, it's how you implement it into your workflow. You're not just going to plug in this resource and then think that you don't have to also prepare your people. There's a lot of education, there's a lot of training that goes into effectively deploying these. And then also allowing I imagine, right, like the AI is, it's machine learning. We've talked about that a lot. So the more that we can interact with it, we can direct it in the, where we want it to be, how we want it to serve us by helping to teach it through what we do. But really, it's the ability to connect people, meet them where they are, connect them with the resource they need in the moment they need it without delay. Like everyone should have equitable access to these services. We should be able to feel good about every interaction we have with our community, knowing that we've done everything we can to serve them. And really from that perspective of, if we don't have to spend all that time trying to figure out what this person's saying or what language they're speaking or what they need, and nothing else. If we can figure out, right, your location, your chief complaint, and the language you're speaking, and we can get that, we can deploy resources, and then we can take the time to engage a speaking translator to maybe go through our EMD, our EFD, our EPD, whatever we're working through. But now we've had rubbers to the road, that person's being served, we can then work to fill in the blanks. And I think at the end of the day, we're just going to feel a lot more satisfied about the service we're providing for every caller.
I love that. And you set up this next question for Jeff perfectly. So Jeff, in a couple of minutes, can you share, like, AI can be a pretty scary term for people, especially when you talk about like machines communicating in emergency situations. But how are you all at Convey thinking about AI related to the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, AI it's a trending term. I like I said, I spent most of my career, all of my career in technology. Managed teams that built machine learning models, dabbled in it myself. And AI is just machine learning under the hood. It's just at a much larger scale. So, I think there's a bias there because it's the new trending thing. But how do we use it? Because, AI is different in its ability to do things like, be generative and be conversational. But again, it's what, it's the problem, it's the workflow, it's the tool set. So AI up here in the cloud is not just going to come and solve all the problems. You're going to use AI next to these other things, and you're going to plug it into this workflow. So, for us, we have generated enough data around translating text-based conversations and voice-based conversations and conversations over video to measure the quality of the different providers that are out there. Look, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not Google, we're not AWS, we're not in a place where we're building our own AI models. Maybe in the future, sure. But we're taking these models and these services from Google, from Azure, from IBM Watson, from six or seven in total. And, the special sauce that we've kind of created, which AI helps us do, is to figure out what the most, the best translation, what's most accurate. So, that, the context of a conversation, whether it's text or video or voice, if you turn it into a voice conversation, those, every single one matters because the context starts to run askew. So let's make sure that we have, multiple ways to turn something we don't understand into something that we do understand. And then let's leverage that technology to apply to the workflows that people use to communicate. They text, they call, they talk over video, they text to 911. Well, hey, there's a great modality to communicate over non-English, text to 911. But most of the population doesn't even know that that's an option. And furthermore, the non-English speaking parts of the community definitely don't know, because we haven't done a good job as an industry to get that message and that word out there.
Well, there is so much work to do to solve this problem, but guess what? We are at this place where we have technologies that can help you start today for your non-English speaking communities, for your members from the deaf and hard of hearing communities. There are solutions, and AI should not be scary. So what I'm going to encourage everyone to do, because we are running a little bit short on time to go into the last session of the day, is continue the conversation within the HUVA community. Ask Tina and Jeff questions and continue in the chat. If you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the app. You can also reach out to me at kmarquez@rapidsos.com if you would like to connect with our amazing panelists. This session could go on a really long time because it's such a powerful topic. Please reach out to me or connect with me on LinkedIn, and we're happy to get you in contact with these two powerhouses. Now, we have more engaging sessions lined up. There is one more of the day that you do not want to miss. I'm going to let everybody have just a moment back, but Tina, Jeff, thank you so much for this amazing insights and support, and what you're doing in the industry to truly make a change for our community members that may not have received the help that they should have had before. So we're grateful to have you both as part of the Rapid SOS Ready community. And thank you once again. We'll see y'all in the last session of the day.
Thanks, everybody.